Their BAFTA goes to
Batman Arkham City!
Wow, thanks very much for this award. Thanks to the Academy for this amazing award.
Batman Arkham City has shipped 4.6 million units since it launched October 18. I gave it a 10 out of 10, and we are hoping that there's more downloadable content in the near future.
You want to create something that stands up with all of this other great fiction and Batman lore that's been told over the years.
I mean, you achieved so much with the first Batman, a small studio in North London. You came out with this incredible global blockbuster that won the Best Game BAFTA.
Batman Arkham City will leave you wanting more. It will definitely leave you with some heavy cliffhangers and a lot of questions. And the fate of the next game depends on how they answer those questions. If you want to talk about the new content or where the next Batman video game may be headed, hit me up on Twitter and we'll talk about it.
Batman Arkham Origins, arguably the most cinematic entry in the Arkham franchise. Everything in this game, from the cinematography of the cutscenes to the choreography of the boss fights, and even down to the plot and music, give off more big screen energy than its predecessors. The beloved gameplay of Arkham City was almost identically carried over into this game, but despite all this, Arkham Origins is treated distinctly by the fans from the rest of the series, regardless of positive or negative intentions. To understand why, I'm gonna take you back to the past and show you how the community reacted to Arkham Origins. After Rocksteady's back-to-back successes with Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, naturally fans would be waiting on the next entry within the series, and companies, namely Warner Brothers, would be working behind the scenes to carry out not only the expectation of a sequel, but also to greatly expand the franchise. Compared with Asylum, the amount of content created for Arkham City was unparalleled. This time, fans were given actual side missions, story expansions with the Catwoman episodes and Harley Quinn's Revenge, double the Riddler content, more challenge maps, and 3 extra playable characters, along with dozens of skins. And those are only things directly part of the game itself. Following its release, 3 other products using the game's branding would be made: Arkham City Lockdown, a mobile game; Arkham City Armored Edition, the Wii U version of the game; and Arkham City Escape, a board game, which I won't get into. The mobile game wasn't anything special, pretty much a typical swiper fighter, and the main criticism against it was the repetitive nature of the gameplay. I don't know what these people were expecting from a 2012 mobile game, but most fans who ended up playing it said things like the graphics, environments, and sound were all well designed. After all the content Rocksteady would make for Arkham City was complete, with Harley Quinn's Revenge being the final DLC, 1 week later, the Armored Edition of the game would be revealed at E3 2012. As mentioned earlier, this was intended for the Wii U and would also come with all the DLC. The main differentiating aspects of this edition were the unique armored suits for both Batman and Catwoman, the incorporation of the Wii U controller within gameplay, brand new puzzles throughout the story, and the addition of Bat Mode, which allows you to use kinetic energy gloves. A lot of people initially didn't think very highly of this new addition, basically saying all the new stuff they added to the gameplay was pointless or would just make the game easier, and that the new armored suits looked ridiculous. A month later, in July 2012, the first rumor regarding the next game would surface, and the alleged sequel seemed like it would be very different from what Rocksteady had previously established. Firstly, it supposedly would be a prequel taking place within, or at least heavily inspired by, the Silver Age of DC Comics. Also, the Justice League would have some sort of role in the game in order for WB to build hype for a Justice League movie that was planned to be released in 2015. In terms of story, the narrative of the game would center around the establishment of Batman and Joker's rivalry. Something that would add to the distinctiveness of this entry was Mark Hamill's announcement that he would no longer be returning as the Joker following Arkham City. And when it comes to the reactions to the rumor, the information given made it seem to a lot of people as if this was going to instead be a Justice League game, and Rocksteady presumably being attached to the project made up for the potential disappointment of it not being an Arkham game for some. Still, others wanted to see an actual follow-up to Arkham City, especially with the loose ends having to do with Hush, Scarecrow, and Azrael. On the other hand, plenty of people still thought it would be within the Arkham series because the original Variety article described it as a prequel. Others completely wrote it off as a false rumor, since the idea of it revolving around the first encounter between Batman and Joker wouldn't make sense in light of Hamill's Orioles tweet, and Joker was unwanted as being the potential main villain once again. The sentiment of it not being a real Arkham game was definitely in the air because of the Silver Age being seen as too cartoony and goofy, along with everything about it being a prequel featuring the Justice League seemed to be a waste of time compared to a true sequel to Arkham City, and with speculations of this project being something forced on Rocksteady by WB. That sentiment would grow even further when in February 2013, a report would claim Rocksteady was not going to be developing the next installment, leaving fans wondering which studio would lead the project and doubting their ability to do so. Taking a step back to November, Arkham City Armored Edition would be released, and the reactions were pretty split. It can pretty much be boiled down to all the new gimmicks are unnecessary, but it's still Arkham City. The fans would soon find out the actual developer of the game because the May 2013 issue of Game Informer would be released, giving everyone the first official look into Batman Arkham Origins. Would everything revealed here about this next installment be able to satisfy the expectations of the community? The opening pages set the tone. This was not going to be a goofy Silver Age game. The article reveals all the essentials of an Arkham game: the main villain, different factions you would have to fight against, and a surprise antagonist, in this case, Deathstroke. His reveal had a lot of fans excited and made those who were familiar with the character and what he's capable of hope he would be a playable character either within the actual story of the game or at least in the challenge maps. Also, with his actual boss fight, since he's supposed to be the greatest assassin, some would be expecting Batman not to be able to beat him easily, maybe even needing help against him. When it comes to the supposed main villain, Black Mask, he was a breath of fresh air for most people since Joker had been the star bad guy in the previous 2 games and is also in everything else Batman related. Somebody asked, how would he react if Joker turned out to be the main villain? Some said, as long as the game is good, then it wouldn't be a big deal, even if a bit disappointing. Others would prefer Black Mask so Joker could get a break, and one person brought up how everyone would react if Joker turned out to be pulling Black Mask strings, or maybe even pretending to be him. Of course, based on what I've seen, no one asked for a total absence of the Joker. Him being a side character or having a cameo was perfectly fine. Maybe even incorporating his Red Hood persona into the story through a flashback scene was desired. Speculations and theories surrounding other characters included Harvey Dent, Harleen Quinzel, and Victor Fries showing up before they would become villains, Dick Grayson and Robert Gordon actively operating as Batman and Batgirl, even if it's pretty early in Batman's career, and the Falcones having a decently sized role since this is an early Batman. There was also some hope that the Court of Owls would have Easter eggs about them thrown in the game, teasing that they would be in the Arkham City sequel. Despite everything shown in the magazine, WB Montreal wasn't able to shake off the bad reputation this game had even before it was revealed, and it didn't help that the article repeatedly brought attention to the news everyone really wanted to hear, that being Rocksteady was working on their next project within the series, and that this current game primarily served to hold the fans over until then. Again, it wasn't seen as a true Arkham game. What the concept turned out to be was obviously preferred, but that still didn't convince everyone to stop wanting an Arkham City sequel instead, let alone wanting Rocksteady to actually be the ones making the next upcoming title. The Game Informer article not only revealed Arkham Origins, but also Blackgate, with a much more positive and less skeptical outlook from fans. Despite it being a side game, there were people claiming they were more excited for this one over the main game, but there at least still was excitement for the main game, and it would only further grow as more and more information and trailers would be released throughout 2013. The first rumor to come after the Game Informer reveal had to do with the game including a multiplayer mode, with villains going against Batman and Robin. Just like when Arkham City was rumored to have multiplayer, generally it was seen as a negative since presumably it would take development time and resources away from making the single player as good as it can possibly be to give an online mode that most likely wasn't going to be that good anyway. On top of the fact that WB Montreal wasn't necessarily trusted to get things right with this game, some went as far as saying they weren't even gonna buy it anymore. The first teaser trailer would be released on May 16th, with a full-length trailer coming 4 days after. This would be the iconic trailer featuring a fight between Batman and Deathstroke, with Deadshot throwing jabs from the background. The teaser would get people excited for the full trailer, and then when that came out on the 20th, it was so good it made a bunch of folks want to pre-order the game even without seeing actual gameplay. And of course, the quality of the CG was praised, being in line line with Arkham City's Hugo Strange trailer. Along with the trailer on the same day, Anarchy, Bane, and the Joker would be officially revealed. Again, a lot wanted WB to take the Red Hood route with him instead of just having him be the Joker, since, you know, the game was called Origins. With the way Bane was treated in the last two games, it made a lot of the community happy that he would be more accurate to his comic book counterpart instead of just a big dumb guy. And not having any information on the Riddler yet, Anarchy seemed to be taking his place, giving Batman a bunch of collectibles. E3 2013 would show the game off more than previously before. A trailer, a gameplay demo, cutscenes, and DLC would be revealed, sparking more hype than ever before and lowering the skepticism of some. The voice acting satisfied those who were worried about Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill not reprising their roles this time around. The demo showed off, even though it needed some polish, convinced some players it would be better than City, but people said it was odd that Batman would have the grapnel boost in the prequel since it was a reward for completing a side mission in City, which probably contributed to the feeling some got of this game basically being glorified DLC, which was used by some in the Blackgate community to justify their preference for the side game. With about 5 months until launch day, the marketing would keep ramping up with more trailers. Copperhead was confirmed as one of the 8 assassins and even given her own trailer. Screenshots of the game's collector's edition started showing up on the internet, showing what it would offer, most notably a statue of Batman and Joker, which brought back the fears of Joker being the main villain for the 3rd time in a row. Then the Mad Hatter was revealed in an Xbox magazine, showing off his design and apparently his rabbit mask wearing henchman. And after more footage of Blackgate was shown at Comic-Con, of course hyping up the people planning on buying it, the multiplayer mode of Origins would get its trailer showing Robin working alongside Batman against the villain factions, and the worries of this taking away from the single player experience were alleviated because a completely different team, Splash Damage, would be working on it. There was even a beta for the multiplayer which only allowed a limited number of players access to it, and there were definitely a lot of complaints but also a lot of praise. Firefly had a pretty good trailer, but it barely even showed him off and effectively was more of a general trailer for the featured antagonist. Another trailer for Blackgate came out, and for that sector of the fan base grew the hype more and more through showing off gameplay as well as Grundy and Bronze Tiger, even though the reactions to these characters, especially Bronze Tiger, weren't as positive. The achievement list for the game was leaked, and immediately people caught on to the achievements related to the Joker, which really made it seem like he was going to end up being the main villain. A couple funny comments I found were people saying they wouldn't be surprised if Joker is alive in Rocksteady's next Arkham game, and when Batman removes his mask, it'll end up being the Joker. With only 1 month left until the launch, all kinds of people part of the community were excited for it. From garage door installers, artists, teachers, all the way to pharmacy technicians were waiting to spend their $60 on release, except for the guy who sparked the employment conversation. The mobile game would be released, and similar to Arkham City Lockdown, developed by the same studio, ended up being a swiper fighter. If you've noticed, there's a pattern between Origins and City: main game, experimental side game, and a mobile game. And with just 1 week left, with excitement at its absolute peak, the iconic TV spot was put out playing off the Origins theme of the game, and people loved it. But would the community love the game when the time would finally come for them to get their hands on it and see what WB Montreal had been cooking up? Let's see.
I'm Josh Chagani here with Random Respawn, and I'm in the best GameStop in all of Grand Rapids, and we're here at the launch of Arkham Origins. Look at all these Batman fans. Everyone say, hey!
So to begin with, this game is extremely buggy. The game's been out for a little over 2 weeks now, and it seems as though for every bug they fix, about 2 more get discovered or created in their place.
So many glitches in this game.
Be the only big addition that this new studio even added to the overall Arkham forum. It tends to hold your hand the whole time, telling you to scan this, scan that, instead of actually allowing the player to think on themselves.
Why? Why would you make a new game if there's no new gameplay? If it's the same thing done again but with a new story? Why don't you just make that story with a book or a comic or a movie?
But it feels like a rehash of the last game. So it feels like they were just kind of aiming for the middle. They're like, nah, we'll take the last game and add a handful of things and just say that it's a new game and that'll be it.
The shock glove makes fights way too easy, and the remote claw just never really feels user-friendly.
The problem I have with this is it made combat way too damn easy.
Even more pointless in Origins, multiplayer.
This is another example of a game that does not need multiplayer. Why would you add this type of mode into the game. I mean, I know it's an extra, but it's just not necessary.
As a gameplay mode, it's nothing amazing, but it's kind of interesting to play once or twice.
It doesn't reinvent the wheel, but it is a satisfying addition to a great series. And hey, who doesn't love busting some jaws as the Bat?
Little things could have been polished, but apart from that, I very, very much enjoyed playing this game.
Overall, we give Arkham Origins a rating of good.
So overall, in my opinion, like, this is definitely a game that you should buy.
Narrative, better than the previous 2 games.
Overall, I really enjoyed the experience. I liked the pacing. I really enjoyed the story that was there.
Gameplay, as good as the previous 2 games.
But overall, and even the multiplayer is freaking awesome when it works.
I think this is the best in the Batman series.
So why is this game getting hate? Because it wasn't made by Rocksteady, because it has a different developer and slightly different talent? Screw that, this is a great game. If you like the other 2, you're gonna like this one.
So I definitely recommend getting it. I'm gonna give this game a gold award because it's everything I expected and wanted it to be.
Make sure you go get that, man.
First impression wise though, yeah, it's good. If you enjoyed the other 2 games, you're gonna enjoy this one. That's the simplest thing.
The reactions to Arkham Origins certainly were not as unanimous as they were with Asylum and City. This comment from someone in the Blackgate community sums it up pretty well. From the very beginning, skepticism abounded. Never mind the fact that people wanted a sequel instead. They were worried that this non-Rocksteady studio was going to screw everything up in such a way that this wouldn't be a true Arkham game. But as more details came out, now the game was just a glorified DLC, especially with the fact that City raised the bar beyond what arguably even Rocksteady themselves could reach again. Of course, not everyone had this attitude and ended up enjoying the game as just shown, but the damage had already been done to this game's reputation. It was doomed from the very first rumors to be the outlier of the series. Even Warner Brothers themselves treated it as distinct. They conceptualized this third game as basically just being the filler in between Rocksteady's projects. Regardless of the trouble Origins had to deal with, WB Montreal was still able to accomplish the mission by adding something of decent quality to the franchise, giving fans something worth playing after Arkham City. Unfortunately, even though it's still seen as the black sheep of the family by the fans to this day, because of everything that this game did right, I can confidently say, overall, Batman Arkham Origins was and still is loved by the community.